So this past weekend, my sober community had a meetup in Boston. You know, it's a virtual Zoom community with people from all around the world, mainly in the U.S. or largely in the U.S. And the greatest percentage of those are in the New England area because that's where our founder started this up. Ended up about 50 people going to it, you know, and I had friends from around the country saying, "Oh, I'm so jealous. I wish I could go, but I just can't, make it, or flights are too expensive." We did have a few people flying in from California and a few other states, and a friend bussed down from Maine, probably took her 3-4 hours. And I can't say I was totally looking forward to it. It seemed more like something I just had to do because I used to dread these kind of things, daytime events. This was at 10 a.m., basically at a park area. I used to dread, absolutely dread, and I was thinking, why couldn't this be at a coffee shop? It'd be so much easier. And I was not really looking forward to it. I was not dreading it by any means, but I woke up that morning. I guess it just felt like work on a Sunday, and I woke up that morning going, damn, I got to get in social mode. And of course, what did the trick was jumping in that shower and doing the old cold shower finish, doing my 3-minute dance, which I talk about on video number 3. Need to do another one on it. So amazing. So I was ready to go. And I picked one of my sober friends up at the bus station, South Station, and we headed on in, helped kind of have someone to walk in with, although it was outdoors. And I initially even went back to my car to kind of load up my backpack with my various drinks. I had my coffee, I had my waters, and it ended up great. It was still a lot of small talking. I like to say we get into deeper conversations in sober community, but it's still deeper small talk, I guess I would call it. And it's funny, after a couple hours, I was kind of waiting. I didn't know if I was going to be able to wait much longer for my friend. I had to drive back to the bus, which is probably another half hour, but I went for a little walk, watched the planes land, kind of regenerate. I used to be an introvert, meaning need to be alone to recharge. But I realized more what it was is I just need a break from listening. My people, you ask us one question, we'll tell you our life story. And I'm not complaining, but I've got pretty good at being the one asking the questions and being the listener. And, it was great when I went back, ran into this couple from California, which I'd barely ever talked to. One of the wife I'd messaged a couple times. Well, talked to them, just like knew them my entire life, told them a bunch of my crazy dating stories, and it was just phenomenal. And I ended up staying. My friend, kind of funny, she had disappeared when I got back. I texted her. She had plenty of time to get back to the bus station, but of course I cut things closer. And I said, "Where are you?" She said, "Yeah, I jumped in an Uber." She said, "I thought you pulled an Irish exit." I was like, "What? What'd you think I was drinking?" Because that's absolutely something I would have done on my drinking days. I would have showed up late to that event. I would have disappeared for half the time, including time going back to my car, refilling my booze. This time I did go back to my car a couple times, but just refilling my water and coffee. And then I would have Irish exited. So didn't do any of that. I was there the whole time. I was present the whole time, other than my little break. And, the guy who ran it, initially I'd said on a call a few days before, I said, "Oh, David's going to have us there for 3 hours." And he ends up putting in the chat in his voice, 4 hours, Cappy, 4 hours. And I ended up being there with him and a couple others almost 5 hours. We closed the event. It was crazy, and it reminded me in college, the last couple reunions I've been to, particularly the last one, it was almost the exact same thing. A couple years ago when I was throws of sobriety, wasn't really looking forward to it. First got in there, was completely overwhelmed. Actually took an anxiety pill, which is, my backup plan. I always say don't try to go completely cold turkey in the early days of sobriety. It wasn't much of a pill, so I can't even credit that. It was practically a placebo for someone of my energy level. But I ended up getting comfortable. And as I said, it only takes an hour max to gain comfort in a social setting. And I ended up closing the place. At the end, I was walking around seeking people out to talk to on my way out of there. So, and this proved to be the exact same thing. Once again, stronger, sober, proved true. And it was such a big kind of full circle moment from the first college reunion I ever went to. I drove down there, hour away, sat outside the hotel parking lot drinking, watching people go in. I didn't really fit in college. I was kind of between two crowds. And alcohol already wasn't working for me by then because it just made me more anxious. You know, alcohol is the only anxiety pill we take that works for 20 minutes and then just makes it worse. So I never even went in. I basically just took a little nap in my car and ended up driving home. Unbelievable. So it was nice. You know, I fit in so well at this event, found my people, and it absolutely proved it true. Stronger, sober. And I still had plenty of time to go home, go to the gym, and then get home and do a bunch of chores, which is such a beauty of being sober at daytime or even early evening events, is that you can still be productive afterwards. Such a wonderful part of the magic of sobriety. So that's it. Stronger, sober. And as always, please like, share, subscribe. Thanks.